Dominating the valley, two monumental statues of standing Buddhas carved into the side of a cliff, measuring 55 and 38 meters. They testify to the greatness of Bamiyan's cultural and religious history. Buddhist monks embellished their caves with religious statues and elaborate brightly coloured frescoes, but over the years these deteriorated. Under pressure from the various local warlords, the poor of Bamiyan removed paintings and other artifacts on order. These were then exported and sold mainly to neighbouring Pakistan. At one point, local clerics declared the Buddhas offensive to Islam. The result was that the head of the small Buddha statue, situated midway between the two large ones, was chiselled away. All these acts of iconoclasm provided some income to the very poor in Bamiyan, but above all they served to fill the coffers of local warlords and other clan chiefs. But despite these acts of aggression, for centuries the Buddha statues continued to fascinate scholars, historians and the general public from all over the world. Apart from its gigantic proportions, the large Buddha had one feature that drew the attention of the onlooker immediately. It had no face. Could this be the work of early Muslim iconoclasts? But the clean way in which the face has been cut out suggests that it was actually built in this manner for a very particular purpose. An eminent Afghan archaeologist working and teaching at the University of Strasbourg in France has been studying this mystery for a very long time.
Le vrai visage de Bouddha était un masque en bois qui pivotait sur le visage au niveau de rigole que je vous ai montré, qui était couvert de feuilles d'or ou de tôle en or. Il y a un chroniqueur musulman, que mes études n'est pas encore terminées, dit « ses yeux de rubis scintillaient la nuit ». Ça veut dire que c'était rubis ou un grand verre de couleur rouge. Pour que ça scintille la nuit, il faut mettre de la lumière derrière. Le Bouddha de Bamiyan était quelque chose comme ça, et ce n'était pas l'œuvre des iconoclastes, ça a été fait pour impressionner le monde entier.
Winter 2001. With the cold and snow, the pace of life of the people of Bamiyan has slowed down. At dusk, they huddle back to their humble homes and wait patiently for the bitter, cold northerly winds to subside. The Taliban finally arrived in Bamiyan, but not before having massacred some 300 Hazara people on the way. At that time, they had laid claim to over 80% of Afghanistan. But their sovereignty was recognized by only 3 countries: Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The people of Bamiyan resisted valiantly, but the intruders were far too powerful.
ما با تفنگایی که بلشانه خود داشتیم با مثلا با مرمای بسیار اندک مقاومت میکردیم. روی مقاومت طلبی خیلی سنگین بود. مقاومت هم از نگاه نظامی شکست قبل شکست نبود. اکثرش اختلافات بود. اختلاف داخلی منطقه بودن باعث شکست مردم کردن. نظامی با همون تفنگ داشتن، مرمی اندک داشتن. با اون مقاومت ما خیلی وقت داشته که بانان خشک خانه بودیم. فقط نان خشک برسه نیاز نداشتیم گوشت برسه مثلا چیز دیگه برسه. با نان خشک هم نیروی نظام مقاومت میکردن. و محاصره‌ای که با من کاملا محاصره بود، کلا از رجال محاصره اقتصادی بوده. دیگر مردم بسیار شکننده بوده.
As in Mazar-e-Sharif 4 years earlier, the Taliban again committed acts of barbarism never witnessed in these parts since the 19th century. They burned down mosques and sent out their infantry on a mission to smoke out Shiite clerics whom they accused of heresy. Their objective was ethnic cleansing. Nothing less would do. Over 700 people were killed, and those who could escape packed all their possessions and headed for the mountains. And yet, there are so few differences in the daily practice of Islam between Sunnis, who are followers of the caliphs, and Shias, who declare their loyalty to Ali.
و این من شخصا خودم استدلالا عرض میکنم، یکی از علمای مردم هلمند اینجا آمده بود در مدرسه مهدی، ما اونجا درس میدادم، او با عنوان طالب جنگی آمده بود اینجا. اتاقای ما یک جا بود. او آدم گریه میکرد، یک زمین پشتونا بود، میگفت ما را از اونجا روان کرده که برین با کافرها بجنگین. ما شما را میبینیم نماز میخوانید، ما شما را میبینیم قرآن میخوانید، ما شما را میبینیم جماعت میخوانید. فقط فرق ما این است که شما دست خودی قسمی میگیرید، ما دست خودی قسمی میگیریم. ما چرا شما را بکشیم؟ اونا رو فهمانده بودن که مردم قسمیه ظلم به اندازه به حقی مردم روا داشتن. خانه های مردم را سوختاندن، قرآن ها را سوختاندن، کتابخانه ها را سوختاندن. کتابخانه جامعی داشتیم در امی مرکز بامیان، اون را آتش زدن، در بین او قرآن بود، مفاتیح بود، همهشون را سوختاندن. میگفت قرآن از هزاره هاست. اینقدر منطق نداشتن که قرآن ببینی که قرآن هزاره ها با سنیا فرق داره یا نه.
In the name of faith, the tragic wars of religion between Sunnis and Shias have continued uninterrupted since the 7th century. Beyond ethnic massacres and clan warfare, the ignorance of these new invaders has forced the vanquished people into an abyss filled with the suffering of the past. It was ignorance again that prompted the Taliban to commit a shocking and irretrievable act. One fine day in March 2001, an astounded world community was confronted with the fact that the 2,000-year-old Buddhas had gone forever. It took the Taliban over 20 days to destroy the colossal statues. First, they used cannon fire from a row of tanks facing the cliff. Then they resorted to high explosives, including napalm bombs. They succeeded only after bringing in demolition experts from abroad. Among the prisoners taken by the Taliban was this man. He was forced to work for them in a chain gang. For fear of retaliation by Taliban sympathizers, he prefers to remain anonymous.
فقط موضوع از زیر سر ما تخلیه میکردیم، میبردیم با همین مردم طالبا با همین نظام طالبا رو جابجا میکردیم داخلی بوتا. بعد از اینکه وقتی بوتا سوراخ‌ها پر شد، ما آمدیم بغل از دیوار. بغل از دیوار اینجا استاد شدیم که تصمیم از وا بود که کوه مش پایین میاد. با همین انفجار می دو تا پای زیر قطع دیگه هیچ آسیبی به بوتا نرسید. باز دوباره اینا مجبور شدن نفر پایین میکردن، از بالا در فرقش از فرق برنامه میکردن، توسط برمه رو انفجار میدادن. باز این تخریب میکردن، آثارهای تاریخی که از این مجسمه میبرآمدن، اینا را همین انجینرهای عربستانی و پاکستانی اینا جابجا میکردن. مثلا مابین صندوق باز اینا را از اینجا انتقال میداد در طیاره میدان هوایی میبرد، باز اونجا در طیاره مثلا بار میکرد میبرد گرفته تا با می سیستمی را از بین بردن. بعد از که از بین رفت، باز او بود پایین‌تره، او بود دیگره، اونجا رو گرفتن، او را هم انفجار دادن. او را دم یک انفجار از بین بود، به خاطر از که او را تکنیکش یک مولوی آمده بود از پاکستان، او مولوی گرفته بود زیر زور مواد انداخته بود، پشت سرش بوجی بود، بازور دم یک انفجار از بین بردن. باز کم کم این بوتای مجسمه های خورده یا از بین. تنها یک اینمی مجسمه 20-25 روز حدود یک ماه اینمی مجسمه تخریبشون رفت.
Some might think the Taliban were again motivated by religious belief, but not this time. The people of Bamiyan had stopped practicing Buddhism for centuries. The motives are much more complex and lie elsewhere. When a delegation of experts from UNESCO arrived in 2001, the Taliban had seemed to agree with them and to accept not to damage the statues. Yet 3 days later, they began their demolition work. Many questions remain unanswered, and controversy surrounds the role played by certain international organizations and even states with vested interests in the fate of the statues and the future status of Afghanistan.
در پوشش یک موضوع اعتقادی یک خیانت تاریخی و سیاسی را انجام دادن. آنچه طالبان میگفتن ما بت شکنی میکنیم این یک پوشه بود. به خاطر که اسلام چندین بار در بامیان مسلط شده. هیچگاه بت‌های بامیان لشکرهای اسلامی منفجر نکرده. و در لابلای از این کار میخواستن که اول مدنیت کهن افغانستان از بین ببرن. و دوم حضور مدنی و قدیمی و تاریخی مردم هزاره را در اینجا ضربه بزنه. چون بامیان بسیار با گذشته های تاریخی حضور و جایگاه مردم ما و نژاد ما بوده. و سیومش هم بامیان تنها ولایتی است که جز جاذبه های توریستی عایدات تولیدات دیگر ندارند.
The Taliban destroyed practically everything on their murderous rampage across Hazarajat. People lost their livelihoods, their homes, their cultural heritage. But their supposed liberators, who had promised them a better future, would only rekindle old hatreds and drive a wedge between ethnic groups. Instead of helping people rebuild their broken lives, they set fire to Bamiyan and pillaged the remains of a rich history. The Hazara today have no inkling of the cultural wealth their ancestors had built, yet they will have to learn the ways of hope again, to find their roots and recover their identity and their pride, to attain the peace they have been longing for through the years. In Bamiyan and the surrounding villages, there is still much to do before the Hazara can claim their right to a more decent life and to be able to provide for their families. Weddings were important and festive occasions. They still are, but the land is now too poor to yield a good enough harvest for guests and family members to feast on. Even today, some people still live in caves carved out of the cliffs, or in remote villages with no water, electricity or heating. Whole families live in one room where they cook, sleep and eat. The precarious situation of the Hazara of Bamiyan and other regions does not seem to be improving.
مردم ما چون بسیار تکالیف دید، زحمت‌ها را دید، حتی در زمین مردم ما خاطره دارم این مردمی ساحه مرکز اینا چند دوره را اینا سراسر شده، با اینا کس هنوزم خدمت نکرده. دوره ای که شرقی آمده این مردم شهید داده، کشته شده، خانه‌اش چپش داده، جایش مونده، فرار کرده. پس دوباره هم مثل از نورم تو قلوخ دگلیسان کرده، بازم در جای خشیشته به خاطر یک 4 روز زندگی خو. خب پس مجاهدین صاحب آمدن با اینا احترام نکردن، چندان برایش خدمت نکردن. گرچه دولت ما زبانش نشنیده، امی یک تعداد دوستای خارج از مهندسا شاید انجینرها باشه اینجا که میاد مثل شما دلی ککس میگیره، از زبان ازیا میشنیم که نوسیار میگه که باید تخلیه کنه. میگم شاید دولت در خدمت مردم آماده خدمت شو، اینا را قناعت بده که مردم از ما سالها ضربه خورده، شهید داده، هر خلوش ازی به خون یک انسان برابر شده.
In order to allow Bamiyan to recover its status as a major historical centre, and in a drive to improve its economic situation, a number of projects taking into account the town's Buddhist past are being studied. According to Huang Zhang, a 7th century Chinese Buddhist monk who had taken the Silk Route to reach these regions, a gigantic reclining Buddha measuring 300 meters is buried under the ruins of an ancient sanctuary, situated some distance to the east where the large standing Buddha once stood. For Professor Tazi of Strasbourg University, there's no doubt as to the veracity of this document. For years now, he's returned to Bamiyan each spring in order to resume his search. Another major project concerns the large standing Buddha itself. An Afghan sculptor has proposed to rebuild this statue using the same material from the cliff face that was used by the original builders.
I make a foundation, strong foundation. I make like a wall in concrete with steel. On the top of that, we make bricks. I mean, bake the bricks with a special brick with the holes, and we build on the top the shape, the form of the sculpture. When it's finished, we use the same material and put them like modeling on the top, which originally made like that, if you see. I'm trying to use the same old technique.
There are those who have proposed that the statues not be rebuilt, precisely so that new generations might realise just what religious bigotry can lead to. They suggest that the empty hollows be left as a reminder of those dark years when ignorance could annihilate the cultural roots of an entire population. The third project seems a compromise between ethics and economics. A Japanese artist has proposed a high-tech laser beam spectacle that would resurrect the fallen Buddhas. For 4 hours each day after nightfall, powerful laser beams would project a 3-dimensional image of the Buddhas in their respective places on the cliff face. This would attract people from all over and contribute to the economic recovery of the town. For the governor of the province, the most important issue is for the people of Bamiyan to live in dignity. In the history of Afghanistan, the governor is the first woman to have won this post. She aims to put a stop to the discriminatory measures aimed at the Hazara community in general and at women in particular. She's managed to assert her authority and is moving forward energetically.
This is my wish and desire to preserve this original culture. And with the help of some young generation, I was able to make an association. This association can work with the people to raise their awareness about the cultural heritage and not only the cultural heritage but the common culture, for example, their custom, their tradition and so on.
Hazara music is an age-old tradition that has always carried within it the promise of better days to come. But throughout history, it has lacked respect and sometimes has been rejected. Today, it's thriving again. Accompanied by the traditional tanbur, this young musician, in an epic poem about Afghanistan, recounts the wars and misfortunes that his people have had to face in the past, and also their dreams.
موسیقی را به می شکلش به می شکل سنتیش امی که ما می نوازیم ای در حقیقت حفظی برای حفظ زی و برای دوام زی سر رول داره و از طرف دیگه ما با زبان خود در حقیقت با اینمی موسیقی سنتی درد جامعه را و مظلومیت جامعه را ما برای دیگرا به گوش دیگرا می رسانیم و با قالب امی موسیقی ما اکثر آهنگایی را که می خوانیم آهنگای حماسی خواندیم تا هنوز و همچنین آهنگای محلی هم خودش به نوبه خود پیام داره و این بیانگر ازی است که این مردم اصالت بسیار قدیمی فرهنگی داره و از قدیم مردم اینم تو یک فرهنگ داشته بود.
In time, the Hazara people may yet regain their position within Afghan society, but the road is a very long one. A stagnant economy and a depressed social climate, combined with endemic corruption, certainly won't encourage progress. Add to this the ominous re-emergence of the Taliban with their unpunished crimes, poor educational facilities, and the slow advance in the field of human rights. But even so, changes are slowly taking place. More and more small associations are being created all over the country with the aim of providing the younger generation with ways to pull themselves out of poverty and deadly ethnic struggles, to try and build something out of the ruins of their country. Another tangible sign of that slow transformation is the ever-growing presence of women in Afghan society. Ministers, company bosses, journalists and activists are gradually filling up posts that were until now reserved exclusively for men. Within the last 5 years, a number of women have managed to speak, write and act in a way that would have meant certain death under the Taliban. This former doctor turned political activist, more than anyone, is aware of the difficulties that lie ahead before the Afghan government is compelled to recognize its responsibilities in the face of discrimination and injustice.
We hope and we struggle for more women's participation in different fields, in politics, in social affairs, which is education and health and other social services, and also on culture and in every possible way. I don't believe on democracy without women. It does require time and a lot of effort and a lot of reform of social behavior to put qualification as a top priority, then only the ethnicity and language and religion. The job in Afghanistan is not complete. When we talk of democracy, let's make democracy real for the public. Not only by doing fraud on the election or showing in the media that it's done. Try to be more, to respect more the human dignity really and the human desire in human security.
After a century of unrelenting persecution, the Hazaras' sense of bitterness is certainly justified. But what is more striking is their determination to reveal their roots and show how intimately they're intertwined with the rich heritage of Afghanistan. From prehistoric times right up to the present, thousands of objects testifying to the greatness of the Persian, Buddhist and Islamic eras have been removed and smuggled out of the country. In this way, unscrupulous warlords continue to deprive Afghans every day of their cultural and spiritual heritage. Once they realize how closely education and hope are linked, Afghan leaders may decide to stop funneling their resources exclusively into fighting against scourges that seem to be beyond them, that can play into the hands of other powers who profit by them and conceal the growing corruption at all levels. Granting ethnic groups what is rightfully theirs, uniting rather than dividing, acknowledging the past rather than sacrificing it, these all need to become priorities. Understanding the need to be humane is possibly the best way to guarantee a future for these humble mountain people. If the countless men and women who are striving to make a better future for Afghanistan decide to make this a priority, it might prove enough to keep the flame burning. It just might.